Hello, everybody. My name is Claude. So I'm the DevRel at ECAD Labs, the company behind Takedo and Takeria. I'm a little bit nervous today because it's the first talk that I give, and my boss is in the audience. So please be nice with me. You know, I love working on Tezos. I want to continue, please. So today I'm going to talk about dApp design. dApp design. So a dApp is something very important because most of the users that come to Tezos are going to come through a dApp. They're going to interact with the dApp, so it's very important to design the dApp in a way that makes it easy for users, so they can join the ecosystem. They can use our smart contracts and everything. So there are some considerations that you must have when you create a dApp. So it's like a normal app, but there are like a few twists that you must take into account to onboard users, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So I will show you the program. Okay, it works. So there are going to be like 3 parts today about the program for dApp design. We're going to talk about the dApp life cycles. The different things that you must do as a developer when you use a framework to create your application, to set up, update, and clean up your application. One of the most important things also that you have to take into account as a developer is the wallet connection. So there's a whole user experience around the wallet connection, and a lot of things that you must take into account and you must think about to make it easy for the users to use the wallet. And then in the last part, we're going to talk about interacting with the Tezos blockchain. So it's the same. Interacting with the Tezos blockchain is very different from interacting with the Visa or the MasterCard network. So you have to try to simulate that kind of experience and also make it easier for the users. So everything, as a dApp developer, everything must be about the user experience. You must make it easy for your users to use your dApp, and you must make them come back to use it again. So the user experience is at the center of the dApp design. Okay, so we're going to start a little bit by some technical stuff. So the dApp life cycles. I don't know if there are JavaScript developers here, but you're probably already familiar with the dApp, with an application life cycles. I'm going to show you a little bit some code and explain you what's happening. I'm not going to use React because React is overrated. So I'm going to use Svelte. Svelte is very good. Also because the names of the methods on Svelte are more intuitive than on React. On React, you have like useEffect that does a lot of stuff. On Svelte, the method when you mount the application is called onMount. When you update the application, it's called afterUpdate. So it's more intuitive, so it's going to be easier to reason about the life cycles of the applications. So the first thing that happens when you create an application and when you're a user using the application, you have to set up the framework that you use. So as I was saying, here on Svelte, you just import a method, and then you use that method to start to bootstrap your application. The second thing that's going to happen is that most probably you're going to use Takedo, and if you don't, you should. But you're going to import the Tezos Toolkit class from the Takedo package, and then you have to set up that class. So in order to set it up, it's very easy. There's only one line of code to write. You instantiate the class like that, and you pass the URL of the RPC node that you're going to connect to. And here the Tezos Toolkit is ready, and you're ready to interact with the Tezos blockchain. The second step is going to set up the Beacon wallet. So Takedo provides a wrapper for the Beacon SDK that's called Beacon Wallet. So here you import it from the wrapper library, and then you're going to set it up. And here I want to emphasize that you just set up the wallet. You don't connect the wallet yet. So here you set it up. There are a set of options that you have to pass to the class to create it. And in general, in your app, you would like to know if the user comes back or if it's a new user. And here you're going to be able to call the getActive method on the client that was created by the wallet. And all that information is stored in the local storage. So the dApp is going to figure out that the user was already connected, there was already a session, and that's when you come to a dApp, if you use the dApp, sometimes you come and you're already connected. That's what happens here. That's these lines of code take care of connecting you if you already used the dApp before. Yeah, and here, so I put 3 dots, and here, according to what your dApp does, then you can update the UI or do different things after you check that the user is coming back. The fourth thing that you would like to do is to create a single instance of the wallet. And what I mean is that the beacon is just a little bit picky, and you have to create a single instance. If you create multiple instances in your application, some of them are going to overlap, or there's going to be bugs or error messages. So it's very important to create a single instance of the wallet. In general, the framework that you're going to use is going to have a way to pass the wallet. For example, on React, you can pass it as a prop. But you also have some high-order components that you can use. For example, on React, you could use Redux. You can use the context API. In Svelte, it's a lot easier. You have something called a store, where you can store all the data, and then you can share that data with your components in the application. So it's a little bit easier to use, and you can just import it. You don't have to, like on React, you have to wrap your components in a higher-order component in order to share that state. In Svelte, you can just import it and use it in any component. Well, in general, there's some kind of way to share that kind of state in your components, and you should use it to create a single instance of the wallet. Next, your dApp is going to update. So after you set it up, the user is going to interact with it, and then you have to update the application. One of the things that you would like to do is connect the wallet. So at this point, you're going to ask the user to connect the wallet. I wrote some code here about how it looks like on Svelte. So for example, you're going to have a button, and then there's going to be a click event, and then there's a function where you can I will try not to move too much, where there's a function where you're going to connect the wallet. There's a request permissions method, and at this point, that's where you're going to have the nice pop-up with the selection of wallets that the user is going to use to interact with your application. And next, when the wallet is connected, that's where you should update the interface of your application. So there are a few things that you would like to update and give feedback to the user. So once again, the user is the priority in your application, and you have to give feedback all the time to make sure that the user understands what's happening, that the user feels comfortable, that there's nothing weird, and that the user doesn't know what's happening. So for example, here when you're going to connect the wallet, you can, if you display the balance of the user, you can display it or you can update it. Even if the user is coming back, it's always a good practice to fetch the balance again to make sure that you have the right balance. If you have an NFT or a DeFi app, you're going to update the balances of the tokens, or you're going to fetch the new NFTs that the users may have. And also very important, you must show the users their connection status. It means that the user must understand that they are connected to the application, that now the wallet is connected and they can start interacting with the application. And okay, so here I would like just to talk about a little thing. I don't know if it's very popular at the moment on Tezos. So I created an app that's called My Tezos DeFi. That's a portfolio tracker for Tezos, and the app listens to the new blocks on the blockchain every 30 seconds, and then it's going to parse the information in the block to find transactions related to the user that's connected with the wallet, and I use a web worker. The web worker, it's a very interesting thing to do because you can, when you have an application that's connected to the blockchain, you can have a lot of intensive computations to do, or if you want to check every 30 seconds that something is new, and you don't want, JavaScript can be a little bit annoying about that. You don't want the application to freeze or to get stuck. So what a web worker is going to do is that it's going to delegate part of that computation to a different thread. So you don't block the application, your user can still interact with it, and in the background you have a web worker running when you can get data from the blockchain, or if you do like some more intense computation, that you can do it in the web worker, so you create a pleasant experience for your user. And then it's not over. When the user closes the application, there are a few things that you must do as a developer. The first one is, so I call it disconnecting the wallet, but it's not really disconnecting because the wallet is going, when you come back to the application, the wallet is going to connect. But there are like two things that you can do. So clear active account, so you make sure that there's no function or something that runs in the background, that doesn't slow down the browser, or you can just destroy it. So you destroy the session, the user is disconnected, and they can close it, and it's not going to continue running some stuff in the background. And of course, this one is more like JavaScript best practices, clearing intervals. So if you have like set intervals in JavaScript to fetch data from the blockchain, just make sure to clear them, so they don't continue running. So when you do that, so when the user comes back to your application, they have like a fresh application with a fresh state. You don't want some stale state, and you don't want your users to see data that was relevant like a day ago and it's not relevant anymore. So you have to make sure to do some cleanup at the end of the interaction with your application. Okay, so now we're going to talk about wallet connection. So it's a very important part of creating an application on Tezos. So it's more going to be about like best practices and things that you should do or should not do. The first one is that you shouldn't force the user to connect their wallet. So I can assure you nobody wants to see that when they open your app. Like it happens sometimes that you go on an application and they ask you to connect the wallet. The thing that you have to understand is that a lot of users are not technical and they don't understand what's happening. And for them, connecting the wallet, it looks like something not safe. Imagine you go to the supermarket and they ask you to leave your credit card at the entrance. So that's exactly what you ask your user to do when you force them to connect their wallet. So a lot of users, I don't do it. If I see that, I close the app and that's it. So a lot of users don't want to do it, and they don't tend. Of course, there's no problem. There's no safety issue to connect the wallet from the get-go. But a lot of users don't understand it. So you have to put yourself in your user's shoes and see your application as a non-technical user. So this one, not good. Don't force users to connect their wallet from the beginning. You present some information about your application, you show them how great it is, and then you ask them to connect the wallet. And when you ask them to connect the wallet, the user is going to expect to see that button somewhere. In general, it's going to be in the right top corner of your application. So you have to follow that kind of best practice. Like you have to follow what the other applications do on Tezos. So you have a clean experience. The user expects to see a button to connect their wallet. So here I put some, so there are like 3 of the dApps, that for me on Tezos have the cleanest interface, Plenty, Uves, and QuipuSwap. So you see that the experience of connecting the wallet is very similar. Here on Plenty and Uves, you have a button at the top right, and here on QuipuSwap, it's on the left. And that button says Connect Wallet. So the user understands, that, okay, connect wallet is to connect your wallet. Sometimes you see applications where it's written sync. And sync, us as developers, we understand what it means. But for a non-technical user, it doesn't mean anything. Sync connect wallet is really clear. That's the one you should use for an application. Okay, the third thing, okay, it's a little bit messy because I wanted to put like really a lot of information, but I didn't have enough space. The third thing is the information about your wallet. So once the user is connected and the wallet is connected, you want to present some information. So here you have Plenty and QuipuSwap, where you have the bare minimum of information, the user's address. The user's address is very important because a lot of users have different addresses and they have different balances in their wallet. So you want to make sure that the user knows with which wallet they're going to pay on your application. So here you have the bare minimum. Here you have, here's UVES, where they go a little bit further. Like when you hover the wallet button, you have this pop-up that shows shows on the app, and you can change the node or you can disconnect the wallet. So this one's a step further, and it's very good. Like the user understands, that okay, here I can do different things. And one of my favorite wallet interaction on Tezos is Tezos Domain. I don't know if there's someone from Tezos Domain, but I mean that's probably the best wallet interaction on Tezos at the moment. You have a button here with the balance, you have an identicon, and then you have the address or the Tezos domain, and then when you click on it, it opens this pop-up here. So you know with which wallet you're connected. It's very common for people to use different wallets. I have like 5 or 6 wallets that I interact with on Tezos. So this one is very interesting. The user knows which wallet they're using. Here you have the address, you have the balance, and then different options. So this one's like one of the cleanest and the best wallet interaction for me on Tezos because of all the information and the feedback that you have and that you give to the user. Another thing that you would like to do with your wallet is to provide an option to switch the RPC node. So it happens often when there's a new project coming on Tezos, then the dApp is not working anymore. All the non-technical users blame Tezos, but actually Tezos works very fine. It's just the RPC node, that there's too much traffic. So you would like to give an option to your users to switch the RPC node to try another one when they want to send a transaction. So this one is a very nice option to add to your wallet interaction. So you see on UVES, they have it here. On Tezos domain also, you can change the node. So it can be interesting, in case there's a lot of traffic, then you can switch to another node. Of course, if your application uses a private node, that's something that you may consider, but it's not required. But if you use a public node, that's probably something you should implement. And then finally, you should also provide a disconnection option. So you must provide a way for your users to disconnect their wallet. And the reason for that is that maybe you want to use another wallet or you want to use another address. And then you want to make it simple for your users. You don't want them to look everywhere for a way to disconnect the wallet because it's not a good experience. So here, once again, UVES and Tezos domain, that there's a way to disconnect the wallet. Like here it's very obvious. So you should provide a way for the users to easily connect and disconnect their wallet, just to improve the experience on your application. Okay, and the last part is going to be about interacting with Tezos. So when you build an application and you interact with the blockchain, it's a very different experience from what non-technical users are used to. You have to wait for the transaction to be baked. A lot of things can go wrong. I mean, when you pay with your Visa on Amazon, nothing goes wrong, like 99% of the time. On a blockchain, Tezos or another blockchain, things go wrong. Like the transaction is not included, or there's all kind of problems that can happen. And once again, it's very important to tell your users that there's a problem or that something worked. There must be some kind of feedback, for them to understand that everything is fine, or they should try the transaction again. So the first thing is that before the transaction goes to the blockchain, it must be, so once again, you have to see your application through the eyes of a non-technical user, someone who's used to Web 2 and comes to your Web 3 application and expect the same kind of experience. And you, as a developer, you want to create that same kind of experience with the tools you have. And here, so for example, you must write clear messages, for transactions or for message signing. So for example, here I put a screenshot of Plenty, and here it's pretty clear what's happening. I put 10 Tez, I'm going to get 16.39K USD, and there's a giant button where it's written swap. You cannot miss the button. And it's written swap, so the user is going to understand that the swap is going to happen when you click on the button. It's the same for message signing. There are some dApps that you may have used. It's not very popular yet on Tezos. It's more popular on Ethereum. But it's possible that you ask the users to sign a message if your smart contract requires it. And so the wallet opens, and all of a sudden, the user sees like a string of bytes, and they don't know what they're signing. So that's a bad user experience. It must be clear that what they're signing and what's going to happen next after they click on the button. So now the user has clicked on the button, and so in general, they're going to wait, if they're lucky, a few seconds. In normal time, 30 seconds. If they're unlucky, maybe a few minutes. So you have to provide visual feedback to the users. So here again, Plenty, where the new interface is really great. There's a lot of visual feedback like that to tell the users. You see here, you understand that the transaction is submitted. You can check the hash on the blockchain, and now you wait, and the user understands what's happening, and they're going to wait. And while they wait, you must provide some kind of distraction, some kind of feedback, okay? Like when you're in the elevator, if there's no music, it's boring. You go up, you wait, and that's why they put that music in the elevator, to make you wait for a few seconds. dApp is going to be the same. You have to provide some visual stimuli for your users to make them wait, So for example, here on Plenty, you have a spinner like that. Most dApps have something that moves, on the UI to say, okay, something is happening. Because if nothing moves on the UI, the user is going to think, okay, nothing is happening. Did it work? Did it not work? So as long as something is moving, the users, they feel that something is happening in the background, and they're not going to try to click again. So that's one thing that you have to take into consideration when you create an application, is that bored users or users that don't get any visual feedback are going to click on the button again. And they're not going to wait 10 minutes to click on the button. They're going to wait like 5-6 seconds. So you have to provide some visual stimuli, and you also have to disable the UI, just to prevent the users to click on that button, because the user is going to, if they pay like 10 Tez for a service on your application, nothing's happening, they click on the button again, it sends a new transaction, and at the end, they're going to pay 20 Tez, and there's no refund on Tezos. So yeah, you have to make sure that the users understand that they have to wait, and you also have to prevent them from spending more money or more than necessary. And then when everything is okay, you can, of course, enable the UI again, and they can interact with your application again. And when everything is good, like most of the time, when everything is good, you also provide visual feedback. Like here on Plenty, you get a pop-up that says, okay, it's green, so the user understands that it's fine. So I tried, for this presentation, I tried to make it fail, to make a print screen where it didn't fail. So I think it's good, it didn't fail, but I'm sorry I couldn't have a screenshot of a failing operation. But it's going to get red, and you understand that something is wrong, and you also provide feedback to the users to say, okay, try again, or maybe wait a little bit, depending on what your application does. So you have to tell the users if the transaction is confirmed or if it failed. So just to sum up, there are 3 steps, and it's very important to give feedback to users when they interact with your application, feedback when the transaction is sent, feedback when the transaction is waiting to be included in a block, and also feedback when the transaction is confirmed. And once the transaction is confirmed, you can update the UI. So like here, for example, on Plenty, my balance was 50 Tez. Now it's 49. So the users understand that, okay, the amount that I accepted to pay was debited from my account. There's nothing less upsetting than getting all the feedback that everything is fine, and then you look at your balance, and it's the same balance. So the users wonder, did it really work, or was there a bug or something? Here, so you have to update. I see sometimes on DeFi apps, that the balance for the tokens is not updated after the transaction. So it's very important to update all those balances. So the users have multiple feedback, and they understand that everything is fine, everything worked fine. They have their money, and they get the service that they paid for. Okay, and that was it for this presentation. So thank you very much for listening. And I just would like to thank Jev a lot. So Jev and Roxanne, they are the developers behind Takedo, and I don't think the Tezos ecosystem would be where it is without Takedo. So they do a very important job in the shadow, and thank you very much.
We do have time for some questions.
Yeah, sure. Well, not complicated ones. Huh?
Is it working? Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the talk. I personally appreciate this talk because I'm a PhD from Technical University of Munich, and I'm organizing this blockchain course with like more than 1,000 students. And one of the concepts that I find most important to explain to the students is like what is the architecture behind a decentralized applications, and what is the role of each components involved, like a wallet. Why do we need a wallet? Like it has a role more than just like being a wallet, but it's also like a Web3 provider, for example. Mm-hmm. And I think a talk like yours is pretty important to bridge that gap and point to the people like what are all these components involved in these dApps and why we need them. So I think that's why I find your talk really nice. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask was that in one of the slides you mentioned that a dApp should better have this custom RPC switch. And I was confused because I thought that RPC switch should better be on the wallet side because the wallet initially at the end sends this transaction. So wouldn't it be something that should be configurable on the wallet but not the dApp, or yeah?
Yeah. So for the first part is I think that it's we hear and we talk about a lot of technical stuff, like it's very important not to have a blockchain that's sound and that we have like new tech on it. But if there are no users to use the blockchain, then yeah, we're just building it for nothing. So I think that subject of designing Web3 application is very important. At the moment, it's a little bit left on the side, and we should talk more about it to create a nice experience. I think the guys from the NFT marketplaces do that. They provide a very nice experience for users on Tezos, and that's something that we should replicate on every application that we create. For the second part, when you switch the RPC node, yeah, you switch it on the wallet, but you also switch it on Takedo. Takedo is going to use the RPC node, so you have to switch it. No, I think there's some options. Yeah, there are some options on wallet where you can switch it manually. No, but you can also implement it in your application too. But the wallets have it. I think Temple has it. There's a way to switch the wallet. The thing is that if you switch it on the wallet, maybe you have to be more careful about how your application is going to listen to that change. But you can also, like when you create the instance of the wallet, You can also destroy it and create a new instance with a new RPC node, so you have a fresh instance, and you can start like it was the first time that the user uses the application.
Okay, thank you. And one last thing would be, so I think there are mainly two types of decentralized applications. One of them is the more known use case where end users interact with blockchain, where they submit transactions, etc. So they need to connect their wallet to provide this Web3 into the application. And then we also have this server-side applications like block explorers or whatever, where they do all this wallet configuration on the back end of the things. And I think this is, again, something that should better be told in like talks like this, etc., to bridge that gap again. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
My name is Bonai. Thank you for your presentation. I want to know, is it for managing the life cycle or the dApp component? I want to know, is it easier or recommended to use React hook?
Yeah, I think so. I don't use React a lot because I prefer Svelte. But yeah, I think at the moment, all the developers on React prefer using hooks rather than classes. So I see a lot of people using it. So I don't know if it's probably a little bit easier to use it. But I think it's a personal choice for the developer. And yeah, I think it's starting to become the best practice now on React to use hooks. Yeah. So yeah, it's probably better.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any other questions at the moment?
Come on, we have time for another one.
Yeah. All right.
On the smart contract side, what is your favorite higher level language to use?
You want to tell me? You want me to say something about SmartPy? No, of course. Yeah. So I gave a talk like last week on Tez Asia Hackathon about Lego. So yeah, it's going to be Camel Lego, my favorite language. So yeah, I think it's the guys from building Lego make a really great job. But now the compiler is even better. Now there's a testing suite. There are a lot of things that are going to come to Lego. So it's a very interesting language to try because it's functional programming. So I fell in love with functional programming on Tezos because it's very safe and it's very nice to reason about. So yeah, Lego would be the language for me to recommend.
I actually have a question for you as well. I'll take a seat in the audience. How could you recommend to folks that are more on the less technical side of dApp development, designers or people focusing just purely on UX, UI, how should they inform themselves on what's going on the back end?
On the back end? Yeah, there are a lot of tutorials, so it depends the back end. Maybe at the beginning you would like to try something a little bit easy, so you try JavaScript. And JavaScript, so you can use Node.js for the back end. JavaScript is also going to help you also later after the back end. You can go to the front end, and you can also use JavaScript. So yeah, learning JavaScript, Node.js for back end stuff. That could be interesting as a beginner. That was the question?
And just to expand on it, more of what functions that you just went over in your presentation should a designer that's helping design maybe a website or that UX UI interaction, what should they be aware of when they're helping design something?
Well, first they should be aware of the things I talked about. And then you can, for example, I started the Google UX developer course. It's a very good course to learn about user experience. So there are some courses like that are pretty famous that you can find online. Some are for free too. And I think dApp is just a decentralized application. So it's an application. The way you design a dApp is the same, is more or less the same way that you would design a regular application. The same principle apply. So yeah, first you should learn about design principles for an application, for user interaction, and then you can apply it to an application on Tezos, keeping in mind wallet interaction or also transaction delay when the users interact with the application.